Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone are doing great. I think we are good to go. So yesterday we have discussed about pending topics from compute services and elastic load balancer and auto scaling concepts. Any doubts on yesterday topics? Any doubts? All right, we have started a new topic for yesterday, that is Amazon S3. So I think we have discussed till yes. So we have discussed till Amazon objects in the S3, right? Encryption. We have tried to see if what kind of an encryptions are available, and we try to create a sample folder inside the S3. Okay. So we'll try to see these options when we are trying to see directly over the lab sessions. Okay. And with the help of S3, as we are already aware that S3 is nothing but an object-based storage, and it does help us to upload the data, and which will be having us to allow us to have a security configuration and to allow bucket policies and access controls. So in the same way, we can also try to post any static websites inside the S3 being a storage level service. So supporting static website, it means the content including HTML files, images, videos, and client-side script. So in websites that can be uploaded directly. We'll try to see this kind of an option as well. Concept of versioning as well. So before we go there, we'll try to see if what type of a different classes, okay? And then we'll try to understand more on that, the versioning and the static website host. So let me try to show in the console. So yesterday we have created sample buckets, correct? Like ExcelR bucket, where we try to upload the images and trying to create objects inside that particular bucket, the folder. So bucket is nothing but a folder, and the data which we are trying to upload inside that folder are nothing but objects, right? Now let us try to see what are the different options which are available. Okay, so let me try to create one more sample bucket here. Pick one. So this is, I'm trying to create a name with a bucket one. Okay, so I'm trying to upload the main primary region as US West Oregon 2. So it is telling to copy any settings from the existing bucket. If there are any permissions that has been assigned to the new old bucket creation, then we can try to assign those buckets. If I want to click on choose, it can be choose. Okay. What is ACLs? You can see object-based ownership. It controls ownership of the objects returned to this bucket from the AWS accounts and use of the access control list. Object ownership determines who can specify access to the objects. So ACL is nothing but the object level permissions where we can try to control who can try to access this. If I try to disable this, all objects in these buckets are owned by this account. Access this bucket and its object is specified using only policies. So if you try to disable, only owner can be only able to try to access this. So you cannot try to grant permissions to anyone who can access. Okay. And ACL is enabled. If you try to enable, objects in this bucket can be owned by other AWS account. Access to this bucket and its objects can be specified using your ACL. So if you try to enable these permissions, you will be able to get some access to anyone who is trying to access this particular data inside the S3. Okay. So to have the access, I'm trying to click on ACLs enabled. Now ownership. Who are going to access the data inside this bucket? I need to define, right? The person who created the bucket, you want to give that access, or the object writer, whoever uploads the objects, the data inside this bucket, whoever is trying to access. So to give the access to that person, you can try to define that. Okay. So there are these kind of permissions which are available. It is kind of a multiple level permission access where you can try to control the access level to this data where you are uploading your data to the cloud environment. In this way, it is trying to give us a high level security, right? So that's why it is called as an object-based storage service, which is offering scalability, data availability, security, and the performance, right? So customers of any customers for small scale industries who can try to store any protect of any amount of data virtually in any use case. Okay. So such as data leaks and the cloud native applications and the mobile apps. So with these kind of an options, it will allow us to easily manage any cost effective issues and organizing the data, and we can try to control policies and access and the permissions based on the company requirements. Okay. Now there is one more access. It's named block public access settings for this bucket. What is public access? If I try to upload any data inside this bucket, so would I be able to give public access to them? If yes, you need to disable this. Okay. If you click on checkbox access, so this data over the internet, it cannot be possible until you manually try to enable this. For example, if I try to block the public access, so let's see what happens to the data. Okay. So versioning will try to come up with this topic soon. It will be in a disabled state. And encryption, you can see this, right? We have discussed about the encryption concept over here. What kind of an encryption topics we have seen? We have an encryption encodes with an AWS key management service where it will be trying to manage the AWS KMS keys. And we have a server-side encryptions. We have a client-side encryption. We have discussed about the differences between them, right? So that kind of encryption you can try to manage here. You can see this. So if you try to set up a key, so the people who try to access this data, they need a key, which you are going to provide. So this is one kind of an additional secure layer, correct? So if you want to enable that key, you can try to enable in the bucket level. So if we are trying to call that as a bucket key, and if you want to enable, you can. If it doesn't require, you can try to disable, right? So I'm just trying to disable that for now. And it has an object locks as well. You can try to enable lock for objects. Store objects using a write once read many model to help you prevent objects from being deleted or overwritten or for the fixed amount of time. So by mistake, if anyone be able to, if you're trying to give access to this particular data, if they by mistake try to delete the data, so there will be issue. So this is one kind of an options there. It will be try to log the data. Okay. So in real-time scenarios where the data shouldn't be deleted, where the important info, this is one kind of an option which can be useful, right? So I try to what I did, I created a bucket in a region along with an ACLs enabled, and I block the public access. Let's see if blocking the public access, how does it going to make a difference? Okay. I'm trying to create a bucket here. Okay. So what is the bucket I've created? ExcelR bucket 1. Yesterday I've created a bucket where it is having objects can be public. So I have given you the link where you can try to open the image which I have uploaded, correct? Now for this thing, I have mentioned as buckets and objects are not public. That means over the public internet access, no one will be able to access my data until I provide that explicitly. So now my new folder bucket has been created with ExcelR bucket. Here I'm having a different options to upload the data. So I can try to upload the data of a folder, or I can try to upload the images as well. So let's see how it can be done. Okay. I can click on add files. I can try to select everything and upload it once. So the maximum data it can be uploaded once is 5 TB, correct? The limitations of the S3 where the maximum data which can be uploaded is 5 TB, right? Here, once I create the bucket, we have seen what are the options which are available. Here it is asking us to upload any files and folders. So my total files are 3, and the total memory which has been occupied is 253 KB. Okay. Let's see. Next, what are the details? Permissions. Now it is trying to tell access list, grant basic read and write permissions to other AWS accounts. So if I try to provide access to this data for other AWS account, how you would like to choose? You want to choose from a predefined already existing policies I want to use ACLs, or if I want to create a new policies, I can try to create the policies. Okay. Now predefined, you want to give it that access as a private, like internally you want to load this read and write access or grant the public access. Public access means anyone in the world will be able to access the specific objects. The object owner will have read and write access. So if I'm trying to upload the data, I can try to see if no one should access my data and try to modify if I click on private. But if I try to click on the public read access, what happens? Anyone over the internet can read and write access the data. Correct? So you can see granting public read access is not recommended. Anyone in the world will be able to access the specified objects. It is trying to show you caution, which is a risky, right? The data shouldn't be available over the internet and shouldn't be available to anyone. So simply they can access. So that's what it's trying to get with that. But as part of testing, we have lab process. I'm trying to select this, but it is always recommended to go with the private level settings and the secure level configuration, like permission levels. Okay. I am clicking on understand. And then if I come to the properties, you can see there are different options under the properties. So as I told you, AWS is trying to provide various options for users and the companies to have optimize the cost level and the security level. So the data which I'm trying to upload, it is under JPG format is 253 KB. So how this data has to be stored inside the cloud environment? That is again another concept where the cloud is trying to provide. So Amazon is trying to offer Amazon storage classes. Okay. What is a storage class? If you can see here in the slide, this is nothing but a storage class, correct? These are nothing but a storage class. What is storage class? It offers a range of storage class that we can choose from based on the data access and the resiliency and the cost requirements of the workloads. So whatever the type of data you are trying to upload, so the data you can try to manage within the S3 storage in this ways. In these many different ways, it will be able to upload the data. So S3 storage classes are built to provide the low cost storage for a different access. Okay. So these ideally are for virtually any use case, including those with the demanding performance needs and data residency requirements and changing access patterns or archival storage, right? So it is kind of a storage level, like how your data has to behave inside the cloud environment, right? So we have a different types of a storage classes. What are the different types? S3 standard, intelligent tiering, standard IA, S3 one zone IA, S3 glacier, S3 glacier deep archive. So what are these different types? And each storage class has different cost-effective solutions. Okay. So if you try to use these cases, it does have applies a different charges. So how much data you are trying to upload and how much data you are trying to retrieve, depending on that, Amazon is going to charge you the price. Okay. If you are trying to choose and create a bucket, it is not chargeable. But the data, how much you are trying to upload and download, that's how it is going to be chargeable. Okay. So for example, there is an S3 standard. So under the S3 free tier account, you'll be having S3 standard storage for the limitation of 30 GB of storage, I believe, under the free tier. Okay. On top of that, any data if you try to upload, that is a chargeable one. So we just need to make sure. So understanding the free tier accounts and the pricing level, that's a very important cost effective thing. We need to make sure on that. Okay. So what should be the AWS 3 free tier? Let me try to see that. I think S3 is offering 5 GB of a free storage as part of free tier. Okay. So 5 GB of standard storage, it will be applicable for us. That means you will be having an options for 20,000 get request and 22,000 put request. Okay. So that is kind of a storage free tier which is trying to provide. So if you are trying to use any of these storage classes, that will be chargeable. Just please keep that in mind. So you can see how the storage class are effective. You can see we can try to use this S3 standard service when we are trying to actively frequently accessing the data. So whenever I want to upload the data and frequently accessing the data, I would try to prefer the S3 standard. So it will try to have a millisecond of access time. So you can try to access with a millisecond of difference. It is available more than 3 availability zones. You can see greater than or equal to 3 availability zones. So the data can be replicated more than 3 availability zones. Okay. You can see the cost of this particular standard data. It will cost you around $0.0210 per GB. So the data we are trying to upload into this cloud storage, it will be chargeable based on $0.0210. Okay. And if it is going to S3 intelligent tiering, if I'm trying to opt this service storage class, data with changing access pattern. Okay. So if you're trying to have access pattern with the changing different types of data, and every time you're trying to pull a different type of data and uploading rather than regular pattern, this kind of a storage class will come into picture. Okay. So how it is going to helpful? It is based on access frequency without the performance impact, retrieval fees, and the operational overhead. So S3 intelligent tiering, which actually delivers a millisecond latency through a high throughput performance for frequent access. Okay. So this kind of an access mostly used for especially data leaks and data analytics, new applications, and generated content. So that kind of situations, this will be useful. So this is having a different pricing. You can see $0.02120 per GB. Okay. So servers cost will be defined based on hourly basis. The storage level cost will be defined on the GB basis, like, per GB data basis. Okay. Even standard IA storage class. What is this? So it is nothing but the data which can be accessed less frequently. We are trying to access very infrequently, but requires rapid access when needed. Whenever I'm trying to access the data, it might be frequently, but when I'm trying to access it randomly, the data in main download should be very fast. So that kind of situations that will be coming into picture. It offers high durability, high throughput, and low latency of S3 standard. When compared to S3 standard, it offers a high reliability of in terms of networking concept. Like you can try to have a high throughput. You can try to download like long-term storage backups and data store and disaster recovery files. So that kind of situations that will be coming to picture. Okay. So these kind of a storage classes have a different aspects. Now, when it's coming to S3 one zone infrequent access, so it offers its storage in a minimum of 1 availability zone. You can see. So it is ideal for the customers who want a low cost options for infrequent access data. So people who doesn't want to spend much budget, so they want to have an access to only 1 availability zone. That kind of a situations, this one zone infrequent access is needed. Okay. So where they does not require any availability and resilience of S3 standard or standard IA compared to this one and S3, it doesn't have a frequent access, right? So it is having a 1 availability zone requirement. And this is the cost. You can see $0.0100 per GB dollar. Correct. So this is having a low cost. Travel fee is per GB, minimum storage duration, minimum object size. So it does have some restrictions. That's why the price is low here. And one more where it is having is S3 Glacier. What is S3 Glacier? You people might have heard about the archival storage, right? What is archive? When we had a big amount of data and that is consuming more space in the hard disk. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to compress it and we are trying to compress the data and archive the data and store the data just to reduce the space, correct? Why are we doing that concept? Because you doesn't have enough space and you doesn't want the data to be actually in a raw data to be in a higher level, occupying more level of space. So in that situations, so S3 comes trying to provide us archival kind of a storage. So where it is going to helpful? For example, there is a startup company where they had data for 1 year, okay, and they have tried to register their particular services in the Amazon cloud. Now, when they are trying to store the data in S3 intelligent tiering acting, where they want to frequently access the data, they are trying to pay the amount for the entire 1 year. And next year, they want to start up with the new data again, upload the old data, still it is in the cloud environment. So they are trying to pay the old data amount and also the new year data amount again. So they doesn't want to spend much time on the last year data. So what they are trying to do, they are trying to choose the option for S3 Glacier. So what they are trying to have an agreement with the cloud. So the last year data, which they can go to the archival data, and the next year they want to go with the new data, like, frequently access. So in that way, what happens? The retrieval speed will be low because it will be archived, right? So whenever they need, and they doesn't need to frequently access the data. So that's why they want to archive this data. And also the price will be less compared to these storage services, correct? So S3 Glacier is one kind of a service which is providing low cost storage for a long lived data that is randomly or rarely accessed and requires retrieval in milliseconds. So with this S3 Glacier instant retrieval, we can save up to 68% on storage cost compared to standard infrequent access and standard IA storage classes. So when we try to access the data once per a quarter, this S3 Glacier S3 Glacier retrieval will provide faster access to the archival storage. So with a higher throughput is nothing but the frequency of accessing the data, like how frequently we are accessing data, how fast it is. And it is ideal for archiving the data that needs some immediate access, and such as medical images and news media documents and user generated content archive data. So we can try to upload objects directly to the S3 Glacier instant retrieval and trying to provide that info, like the data will be automatically archived after particular time. So it is available more than or greater than equal to 3 availability zones. Okay, this is one kind of a archival storage, right? And the last one is S3 Glacier deep archival. Even this is same kind of an archival data. Here, S3 Glacier, we have minutes to hours. It will take minutes to hours of data to be download from the storage. But in the Glacier deep archive, what happens? It takes hours of data to be downloaded. So that's how it takes time. So what happens? It supports long-term retention, because you can see in this Glacier, it is most useful for 6 months of data or quarter data. But deep archive, it is useful for a long-term retention and digital preservation for data that can be accessed once in or twice in a year. So it is designed for customers, particularly those who are trying to regulate industries like big level industries, financial document services, healthcare industries where patients' data can be uploaded, and the government and the public sectors. So where the data can be higher, like more than 7 to 10 years of long data, they want to archive the data in the storage so that it cannot be lost, right? So this kind of a Glacier data can be used for backup and disaster recovery use cases. Okay, so that's why it is cost efficient and easy to manage alternative systems. So all this kind of a data services, it is trying to provide 99.99% of your. So that's safe enough and quick, reliable service Amazon is trying to provide in the form of storage classes services. Okay, so that is an options we are trying to see here. You can see. So these are the different types of storage services. We can try to opt it based on the project requirements and based on the needs from the user level. You can see storage classes standard. We are trying to get around 5 GB of a storage, right, per month maybe as under the free tier account. So we can try to use that. So it does have a specific access. You can see availability zones. Everything has been defined here. So minimum storage duration, each service has 30 days. It can be stored. It can be stored for the 30 days. Instant retrieval can store for 90 days. Glacier deep archive can store for 180 days. So these kind of a different options over there, and everything can be applied per GB basis. Per GB fees apply, and for only for this one, intelligent hierarchy, how much it is charging? It is charging based on the object basis. Objects greater than equal to 128 KB, it will be chargeable. Okay, so I can't select this because it will be chargeable. If I try to keep uploading the data per GB, the data will be chargeable. So we just need to make sure under the free tier account, even when you try to practice, you can try to go with the standard one. Okay. So this is all about the storage classes, and server side encryption and client side encryption. As I told you, it doesn't require. If you want to enable the encryption, this encryption method can be useful. Okay, which we have discussed yesterday. So I'm not specifying any encryption method here because I doesn't want any encrypted data to be uploaded over here. So these tags are optional. Tag is nothing but naming convention where you can try to search that within resource. Okay. So where you can try to manage and specify permissions for an objects. Just want to configure the naming conventions over there. So metadata is mostly useful for when you're trying to write a coding level. So it is not, I'm not adding that. I'm clicking on upload. I have uploaded this thing. I've added the images. I'll try to add any sample file as well. Let me try to see if any file is there. So I'll upload this one. Okay, I'm uploading a file as well. I'll try to click on upload. So I've created a bucket. We try to choose the storage class, standard storage class. Under the free tier account, I'm trying to upload the data over here. So what we are calling, the data in the bucket we are calling as objects. That's why it is nothing but an Esther is called as an object-based storage, and the buckets are nothing but a folders. Okay. Why it got failed? You do not have permissions to upload the folders. Why the permissions has been denied? Let us try to understand. You can see, you remember I try to have an access control list configured here. What I haven't done? Object owner. I'm able to only provide the access for the read and write access, but not the upload access, right? Let's see if it is trying to tell why it is not able to access for me. Let me try to configure for that. If I go here, I'll go back to this bucket. Let's see what kind of a permission it has been missing. So to check the permissions, I'll go here. We'll see what permissions has been missed here. So what has been done? Public access is blocked because public access settings are turned on for this bucket. The console displays combined access for duplicate grantees. So it is not allowing me access. Okay, let me try to see what I can try to do. I'll go there. I'll give public access over here. Let's see if I'm trying to do it. I've gave that. And what all other things? Authenticated user groups, anyone with AWS account. If you want giving access, you can try to give that. I understand the effects of these changes on my objects and buckets. I'm trying to confirm that I need access to this bucket. I'm clicking on save. Choose save changes. Go back. I'll try to remove this, unblock the public access, save changes, confirm. I'm trying to remove the permissions. I'm giving the public access now. Now I'll try to edit. Now I have given the permissions for that bucket. So you can see the access is public. Let me try to upload the files now. Click on upload. Let's see if it gets uploaded now. Now it is getting uploaded because the permission level, I try to give the permission in the object level, and also I've given the permissions in terms of bucket level as well. So there are various options where we can try to control the options for the permission levels. So if I go back here, ExcelR bucket 1, I uploaded the buckets here. So now if I try to open here, this image, so this is nothing but an object, right? So each object, it has been configured with specific URI and Amazon resource name and entity tag and the object URL. You can see this is the object URL where I can try to load over the public internet, and I can try to provide anyone who can try to access this data. Okay. And I did not enable the server-side encryption. Everything has been default. If I try to open this, let's see if I'm able to open this or not. So what it is trying to tell? Access denied. Access denied. Correct? So why it is access denied? Let us try to see the permissions over here. Okay. I'm able to upload the data because I've given the public access to the bucket. Now I'm trying to open, even I can control the access to object as well. So let's see why it is trying to give an access denied. You can see it is trying to give an access denied message. If I go to the permissions here, you see this particular access in the access control list only allowed for the object owner, not for the public access. If I try to give the public access here, then only I'll be able to access the control over this data. So to do that, I need to go to the edit again. Then I need to have these options enabled. You can see this. I'll click on read access, not the write access. So I'm giving read access. So when you grant access to everyone or authenticated user group grantees, anyone in the world can access this object. Yes, I'm agreeing. I click on save changes. Now, when I'm trying to access the same object again, if I try to refresh this, let's see, I'm able to access, correct? So if I try to access another object now, image 2, I need to control the permissions level over here. Click on edit. I just edited that. So now the permission is good. Let me try to click on this URL and open this. It is opening, correct? So this is a public URL over the internet. I'm giving the public access. That's what it means. If I go back again, these are the images. If I try to open any text document, even document has a specific URL and the ID. You can see it has generated the URL. HTTPS, ExcelR bucket. This is a bucket name where S3 dot, which region? AWS West US West 2. In the West 2 region, right, I've created the bucket.com/test upload.txt. If I try to open this, it won't open, right? I think I've given access. So if I try to give access now, I'll click on edit. I'll click on read, and I understand the effect. Click on save changes. If I try to reload this option now, you can see my data has been displayed over here. Just you can try to see, even you can be able to access because I've given the public access. People can try to access and let me know if you can access this URL. It is as part of a testing, but it is always recommended not to give access to anyone until if there is a requirement. Okay, we shouldn't allow public access because that might be an issue with the data threat, right? So confirm if everyone are able to access this particular URLs because these are the object levels which I'm trying to upload to the S3 storage. Were you able to see? Load the URLs in the Zoom chat I pinged you. Are you able to see the data? Okay, I'm seeing the responses. I think you people are able to access that. Now, if I try to remove the access for this one, let's see what happens. You won't be able to see that for sure. It will give you an access denied message because I doesn't want to give access. So in this way, I'm being an admin for this account. I can try to control the access for my data. It won't be accessible for you if you try. And if I try to open this, even you can't access the URLs. I sent you 2 URLs. You won't be able to access if I try to remove this. Now this is restricted. So it will show you error now, correct? So it is trying to provide this kind of good options to control your data level permissions and access level controls and how it will be helpful and trying to upload your data. So this is how the companies are trying to up this kind of a reliable services within the storage where it will be able to help you in uploading and downloading the data. Okay, with various set of bucket level permissions and object level permissions. Okay, bucket is nothing but it is nothing but a folder. Object is nothing but a individual data you're trying to upload into the bucket, right? So these are very important aspect. It's kind of an important service as well when we are trying to consider data is an important thing, right? For any company or any user. So that's being, it shouldn't be breached. So AWS is trying to take care of precautions on and different kinds of protocols, measures to have this data access. Okay. So these are the different kinds of the services which you can try to see. S3 standard, Amazon frequent access, Glacier, right? So now we have an options for S3 lifecycle policies. What are these lifecycle policies? Let us try to understand. If I go here, I'll click on this bucket one. You can see there is a lifecycle policy. What is lifecycle policy? We have discussed about S3 different types of storage classes. Correct. Now, when I had a requirement where I want to keep the data in S3 standard for 30 days. After 30 days, I want my 30 days data of my data to be moved into another storage class that is infrequent access. So the first time within first 30 days, I want to access the data frequently because I want to download the data, upload the data and everything I want to do it. But after 30 days, the data should be having an infrequent access because I shouldn't be charged with the more charges. So I want to have an infrequent data. So I want to move into 30 days. And once I'm in the 30 days period, so this will be 60 days, right? After 60 days, I doesn't want this data to be available at all. I want to have this data very rarely, like, after 6 months or 1 year. So in that case, I want to archive the data. Then what happens? I want to move that to archival level storage, correct? So I want to move that to archival level storage. After 60 days, I want to move to archival storage. And then once everything is done and 1 year, I'm trying to have the access to this data for 1 year, like first 30 days in standard, next 30 days, it will be in standard IA. And after 60 days, it will be archived, like compression of data with the AWS storage algorithms. And after 1 year is passed on, in the next year, my company had a new projects and my new data is trying to come and the old data doesn't require. Then what happens? I want complete data to be deleted. After 365 days, my data to be deleted. So this kind of a data movement from one storage class to another storage class is nothing but a Amazon S3 lifecycle policy. So it is trying to provide a lifecycle policy depending on the cost-effective nature. So you doesn't want to spend much time and cost on particular data storage classes. You want to move the data from one storage class to another storage classes. So Amazon is trying to provide this kind of an option. Okay. So if you go here to create a lifecycle policy, simply you can try to enter a lifecycle policy here. ExcelR. Lifecycle policy and which rule you want to apply. So this rule should be applied to all the scope of this rule for one or more filters or all the objects. So whatever the data you apply to that particular folder, you want to apply this lifecycle policy to everything. You can try to give that. So you want to, it is trying to give us an acknowledgement. If you want the rule to apply for the specific objects, you must use a filter to identify those objects. Choose limit the scope of this rule, because if you try to select this option, you can try to filter out each object and try to apply the lifecycle policy. If you try to click on the second option, the lifecycle policy will apply to all objects in this bucket. So I'm trying to acknowledge. Okay. Now, lifecycle rule options. So you want to move all the current objects to the different storage classes? Yes. As for this snippet, I want to move the current data to the different storage classes. I have selected the first option. Now, it is asking to configure where you want to move the data. The first data which is available, it is in standard, right? The data which is already configured here, my data is in a standard storage class. You will try to see that where it is. So this is the bucket. So which storage class it has been there? Standard storage class. So this data will be permanently in standard storage class only. And we have moved to another storage class. Because in the standard storage class, I want to quickly upload, I want to quickly download, I want to modify. It's kind of a frequent data access and frequent data retrieval, right? Now, if I want to move to another frequent data, what is that? Amazon S3 standard infrequent access. I can go to there. I'll apply this standard Amazon standard frequent access. You can see this. I want to keep here. So how many days I want to keep it here? Days after object creations, I want to keep it for 30 days, correct? 30 days as per the need. So I want to move here after 30 days. Then after 30 days, where you want to move? I want to move to the Amazon Glacier. When you want to move Amazon Glacier, I want to data to be archived, right? I want to move it to the data over the 60 days. Okay. After 60 days from standard IA, I want to move to the Glacier instant retrieval. Then I'll try to add one more rule saying that my data to be retrieved and going to be in a glacier, right? In 365 days. So I'll try to select glacier and it should be stay in 365 days. Okay. Then if you want to have this other transaction, you can try to have this thing. Like, okay, what is the deep archive? We can see long live archive data access less than 1 year with the retrieval hours, 180 days minimum storage duration. You can try to have a 0 days maybe. So it should be multiple of 5. Then I can try to have. I'll try to keep here maybe, for example, 90. Then I can try to keep it here 365 days. Okay. So what actually trying to do, I acknowledge that lifecycle rule will incur one-time lifecycle request cost for object if transition small objects. So whatever the objects which are trying to upload in this particular storage, it will be chargeable based on the storage classes. The data pricing will be varying. So see this graph. 0 objects uploaded, day 30 objects move to standard IA, and then day 60 objects move to glacier instance, and day 90 objects move to glacier flexible retrieval, and day after day 365 days it moved to glacier deep archive. Okay, so it can be accessed within more than 3 years or 7 years or 10 years. It depends on your requirement. This is kind of a policy options where S3 is trying to provide us. If you try to create role, it will be created at least more than 90 value of glacier instant, right? So it should be 180 then. It should be multiples of 180. That's what it's trying to. So my lifecycle policy has been created. So ultimately, the data will be trying to move into different storage classes without our involvement. So the transaction lifecycle policy has been created. You can see this. So this is kind of a lifecycle policy to manage your objects so that they are stored cost effectively throughout their lifecycle, configure their lifecycle. A lifecycle configuration is a set of rules that define actions that Amazon S3 applies to a group of objects. These rules can apply once per day. Okay, so we can try to apply these rules once per day. So this is all about lifecycle policy, which you're trying to see here. Any doubt on understanding the topics till now, the lifecycle policies? Are you able to understand, right? All right. So let me try to delete this lifecycle. Not delete, right? Okay. So while you're trying to really want to test it out, you can try to configure those settings whenever there is a need, but we just need to make sure each storage class, what are the pricing concepts, and under the free tier account, how much price you had, because you're in the learning stage, right? If you would like to practice, then you can try to do that. Okay. I've deleted this lifecycle rule over here. I'm going back. So this is still in the standard, because in the standard, I had a free tier account. I can try to upload minimum of data for a testing purpose. Okay. Now, S3 cost. Pay only for use, including GBs of object storage per month, different pricing per region and per storage class. As I told you, the price will vary based on the regions because different locations has a different pricing level. And one location like Mumbai location might not be same when it's compared to the Oregon location or the US or the West regions or in other countries, right? It depending on their storage and the rules, the pricing will be varied. And per storage class, you can see there are different storage class. I told you there are different prices are available. So you just need to make sure on the storage. Those are different. transfer out to the regions, to other regions or the internet. So you can try to transfer the data from regions, one region to the regions and over the internet, right? That's what it's get select. I mean, these are kind of a file type actions where you can try to have performed on that data you're trying to objects. Upload with lifecycle transition and data retrieval request. So these are kind of to any service in the same AWS region. So if you want to transfer the data, for example, EC2 server.
Your voice is fluctuating.
Data.
Yep. Hello. Your voice is fluctuating. Can you please check your network once?
Just a moment. Am I audible now?
Yeah, better now.
Okay. Yep, seems it's good only. I think our others are able to hear me. Any breakage? Anyone? You people are able to hear? Okay, not sure. Yep, so I think we are good. So as I told, for what you are trying to have the prices paid for these specifications and the charges which are not available, that is for the transfer of data from within the AWS services. These are the chargeable services, okay? Like which there is no charge for the data transfer from one service to another service, like transferring of data from Amazon EC2 server to S3, it doesn't chargeable. But when you're trying to upload the data from your local machine and downloading the data to your local machine or outside of the cloud, then it will be chargeable. That's how the charges will be calculated, right? So how the moving of objects can be possible within the Amazon S3. So it can be possible through Amazon AWS console, like how I try to do it, right? From my local machine, I'm trying to move the data to the S3 bucket. And it is possible through AWS command line interface. So if you're trying to work where you want to upload the data and trying to transfer the data from EC2 server, and for example, to the S3 service, then this command line interface will come into picture. So this is kind of a very good tool where you can try to upload the data from EC2 server to a S3, right? And now AWS tools and SDKs. SDKs is nothing but software development kit where the developers who would write a code, and with the help of a code and the script you are trying to input, the data can be transferred from one place to another place. So these are kind of a various options you want to have an access and trying to move the data. Okay. And there is one more option called of a multi-part upload. What is multi-part upload? Files can be uploaded by using the multi-part upload API. You can upload a single object as a set of parts. Okay. So each object that can be divided into parts and you can try to upload the data. Each part is a contiguous position of the object's data. Okay. So it will try to have a sequence of data can be uploaded at a time. After all parts of your object are uploaded, Amazon S3 assembles these parts and creates the object. Right. So what happens if you're trying to upload the data and if you're trying to modify and trying to upload the same data with the same file name, it is trying to club together and give you a single object. So that's kind of an option it is trying to give you. So this kind of a multi-part upload typically only used for files larger than 100 MB. Okay. If any files, how it is, because we cannot try to upload 100 MB at a time, right? So we can try to upload the same file by dividing this into parts and then try to upload these parts into ones, and this will be considered as a single object. So it will be applicable more than 100 MB. So how it is going to be advantageous for us? Quick recovery from the network issues. For example, if you are trying to upload 100 MB of a data at once, there might be issues with the network, then suddenly the data might be lost. So during that situations, after the network issues, if transmission of any part fails, only need to retransmit the part. So it will try to retransmit the part which you are trying to upload at that particular time. That kind of a technology, this S3 upload is trying to help us. And the ability to pause and resume object uploads. While you are trying to upload the data, you can try to pause the data and resume the data progress. Okay. Improved throughput. Upload parts in a parallel to improve throughput. So you can try to have the data uploaded in parts, which is trying to show up here. You can see 5 MB or larger object. You can try to upload over these parts into the AWS. And once it is uploaded, object split into parts and then reassembled into a single object. And then it will be transferred to the S3 bucket. So this is kind of a concept of multi-part upload, which is useful more than higher level objects, like kind of a storage. And we have a different transfer accelerations as well. So what is transfer accelerations? Accelerates Amazon S3 data transfers. It uses optimized network protocols and the AWS edge infrastructure. So transfer acceleration is nothing but while we are into one region in one data, where we are trying to access from one location, for example, Mumbai region, Oregon region. So the AWS is trying to use a mechanism where it is trying to pick up the nearby edge location. Edge location means where the data center had a easy frequent access with a good infrastructure, with a good network connectivity. So whatever the data you're trying to upload, it is trying to have a good optimization of a network protocols and then with the AWS edge infrastructure. So every location at edge, there are kind of an edge locations. For every region, there are edge locations. The data will be moved from that particular edge locations so that it does have a good bandwidth in terms of a throughput and network connectivity. So how it is going to helpful? It really helpful in the typical speed improvement. So 50 to 500% for cross-country transfer of large objects. So if you're trying to upload the data, rather than using the network infrastructure from another availability data center, it is trying to pick up nearby data center. So thus it is improving the consistency of the data and availability with 50 to 500% and go even higher under certain conditions. So it is highly reliable as well. Okay. So it shows speed advantage gained by region. Okay. So it is really helpful in the transfer of data in terms of upload and in the downloads, the speed will be increased. Okay. So this kind of data uploads will be mostly useful when you are having a critical data upload with a higher level of data. Okay. When you are having any kind of a data which you are uploading, when you are trying to choose an edge infrastructure configured, this kind of a multi-part will be mostly beneficial. Okay. Any doubts on understanding this concept? So it will try to be available, providing a good high speed bandwidth in terms of networking layer, right? Because we shouldn't be worried about networking thing and the bandwidth issues, throughput and the low latency. It shouldn't take much time. So in that situations, we can try to use this kind of a multi-part S3 and the transfer acceleration, these kind of a services as well. So multi-part upload is actually useful in most scenarios, like a high amount of data, like more MBs, the data which is having a more MBs, where you have a high level of data more than 100 MB. At that situations, it will be a good use case for the multi-part uploads. Okay. Now we have a concept, another kind of a concept. It is nothing but an Amazon AWS S3 Snowball. What is Amazon S3 Snowball? So what happens? It is not always where the companies or the users and always try to go to the console and try to upload the data. Like it might be applicable for maximum of 5 TB at per time, right? And we are not sure if entire 5 TB of data can be uploaded directly from your computer or an endpoint device for any server. It is very tough job, correct? Based on the bandwidth we are currently having in India or any other location. So there is another kind of a technology, which is nothing but a Snowball. What happens? It is kind of a hard disk. Okay. It is kind of a hard disk. What actually it is trying to do? This particular hard disk, which is will be shipped by Amazon to the location where you want to upload the data. And the person from Amazon, he'll come to your location, he'll try to upload all the data which you want to do and try to take to the AWS console, AWS data center and connect this device over the ports through wire and then upload the data. Okay. How it is going to be helpful, you can see, can transport multiple terabytes of data into or out to the Amazon S3. Multiple devices can be used to transfer petabytes. Petabyte of data, it is more than high level, like more than TB of data, petabyte of data can be uploaded. You can understand how this kind of a service are providable to the clients and the companies. This is kind of a petabytes of data which can be transferred, right? This is kind of a storage service which can be useful. So how it looks like, I'll show you. You can see how it looks like. It just looks like a suitcase. You can see that, right? It does have a ports, and from your company where you're trying to locate, they'll try to send you a transport, and this device will be shipped to your address. And these persons, you can see, will try to upload the data and then take out to the Amazon data center. So this is how the Amazon Snowball works. You can see this. It's a very good technology in considerations when we are trying to upload the data, which try to reduce the time rather than depending on the data transfer over the cloud internet. How feasible the service that AWS is trying to provide. This is nothing but a snowball. We are trying to call that as a service. You can see this option. Place order for the snowball. Your company data will be there, and you're trying to upload that high-level metadata into the snowball. And then snowball, if you try to do that order, snowball arrives at your site, and it will ship snowball to AWS. And then from your data will be completely copied into your S3 bucket here. You can see this data in your S3 bucket. So S3 can support the data which has been uploaded in this particular snowball. That's how it is going to be beneficial. So where it is going to be helpful, in which scenarios? Addresses concerns of a large data transfers, and which involves a more kind of a network cost. You doesn't need to spend more network cost trying to have a high level bandwidth of internet and a high level transfer time. It takes more time, and the security level also it's a concern. So during that situation, this will be a very much feasible options for the companies and clients. Example, to transfer 10 petabytes of a data, it means 10 million of a GB over the internet. It requires 10 GB speed, 10 Gbps upload speed would take over 100 days. Now try to understand, if you want to upload 10 petabyte data, it needs a minimum of 10 GB of speed, right? 10 Gbps. So that would take over 100 days of a time. So in that situations, this kind of an Amazon S3 Snowball would be a very feasible options. My screen is visible, right? Is my screen visible? Someone is telling that.
Yes, your screen is visible.
I don't know. Someone had an issue that someone's telling the screen is not visible. Okay. I think you need to look at that, Pooja. You are telling that it's visible. You need to open a tab where you're looking at your computer then. That's fine. So this is the situations where this kind of a data transfer will be happening with the help of a Snowball devices. And to use, create a job in the AWS management console and a Snowball will be shipped to you. So we need to assign, create a job that is nothing but a case or a support ticket to the Amazon team, and gathering the details of how much data you want to apply. So they will be shipped to you. Okay. Attach to your local network, then download and run the Snowball client. So you need to connect your local network and download the client. It should be some application. Okay. And then from there, your data can be transferred. Select the file directories to the transfer, encrypted to the device. Okay. Select the file directories to transfer, encrypted to the device, and ship the device back and track the status. Simple. As simple as that. This kind of things, you can see how simple it is this when compared to the old infrastructure. Now you can understand, like we trying to adopt a new technology over the cloud environment since from beginning days. Like earlier days, at least to have a hard disk itself, it is having high level of cost effective things. It's a very much big data, right? It's a kind of a very big in size. Now you can see this kind of a device can at least transfer minimum of 10 petabytes. So how simple, the data transfer migration is happening from your on-premise infrastructure to the cloud environment. So this is how the process will be going on. So these are kind of reliable services which is offered by Amazon Cloud, right? So this is all about Amazon S3, which is mostly useful for transferring of high level of data and can be shipped and transferred to the Amazon S3 service. Okay. So in terms of compliance and latency considerations, so this S3 will be Amazon cloud environment, will be trying to follow the location base, like the region and the country we are trying to locate. It is trying to have the privacy laws, and can customer data be stored outside the countries? Can you meet your governance obligations? Yes, everything under this controls only. This particular Amazon cloud environment is trying to take care of the data considerations in terms of privacy, security, privacy laws based on the government rules and the country level rules and the government's obligations and the compliance things. So it is trying to follow these protocols. Okay. Proximity of users to the data. Small differences in latency can impact customer experience. Choose the region closest to yours users. For example, if I'm trying to upload the data over here, better I would choose the Mumbai region rather than going to any other Oregon regions or the West Country regions for a better performance in the reliable service. So that's what it means. Okay. So service availability and the cost considerations. And not all AWS services are available in all regions. Okay. So what it means, for example, if I have Amazon S3 and the key management service, EC2 service, if these services can be available in one region. Okay. But we cannot guarantee that all these kind of 50 services can be available in Tokyo region. It depends on the data center availability there and the infrastructure availability there and the pricing factor and the government rules. So due to various factors, if you try to go with each region, the services will be different for each region considerations. That's what this point is mentioning over there. Okay. So for that, you need to consult the AWS region tables for details, and service expand to new regions regularly. So whenever AWS is trying to expand, as I told you, AWS is coming with so many countries across the world, and coming in futures, slowly all the services will be available based on the infrastructure they are trying to provide there. Okay. So they are slowly trying to occupy most of the market currently. That's how it is trying to go there. Cost effectiveness. The cost will be varied region by region. As I told you, in one region, the cost might be different, and the another region, the cost might be different. We just need to go and try to look at the AWS region tables and the documentation to see the cost effective things. Some services like Amazon S3 have costs for transferring the data out. Okay. So when you're trying to have the transfer in the data outside, then the Amazon S3 will, the services linked with Amazon S3 will have a cost chargeable. Consider the cost effectiveness of replicating the entire environment in another region. So just we need to make sure if what are the costs which are required when we are trying to do a data migrations for one region to another region. So that's what we just need to make sure, where the services are available and how the cost considerations are in place. We just need to understand based on the theoretical explanations given by this Amazon itself and read out and then try to take the precautions. That's what it is trying to have that information provided. Okay. So I think we had other thing we have to discuss, like AWS versioning, right? It doesn't have that. Versioning. And we'll try to see what is the versioning currently in the AWS S3. Versioning in Amazon S3, it is means of keeping multiple variants of an object in the same bucket. You can use the S3 versioning feature to preserve, retire, and restore every version of every object stored in your buckets. So version is nothing but a secure backup. Okay. So speed of a Snowball. It can support up to a maximum of maybe usually the maximum speed it can be available is 10 GB per second, right? In anywhere generally. I don't think it is available more than that. In general internet we had currently. So it can support more than 10 GB of second per the AWS Snowball feature. Okay. All right. And yes, the speed can be varies between maximum of 250 Mbps to 400 Mbps. That's what it actually as per the documentation purpose. Okay. And if you want to know the clear exact, someone had a query on how fast is a Snowball. This is the speed it can be transferred up to 300 Mbps. The 42 TB of transfer time in 1.54 days and 72 TB of data can be transferred within 2.7 days. In this way, the speed will matter based on the data you are trying to transfer. Okay, it has specifications, depends on the bandwidth and how much speed you are trying to upload, how much data you want to upload, right? So versioning is nothing but preserving of a data in case of any deletion and in kind of an accidental deletions and the travel where the version will play an important role. So how it is going to helpful? It helpful to preserve, retrieve and restore every version of every object stored in your buckets. With version, you can recover more easily from both unintended user actions and the application failures. For example, if you want to upload the data in S3, okay, and by mistake, the important data, actually the customer data, by mistake, it is getting deleted. So there is no way of getting to retrieve the backup the data, correct? At that situations, this versioning will play an important role. So it will try to preserve the data with the help of version ID. And even due to application failures, the data might be lost. At that situations, if you try to enable the version, that is going to really helpful and play an important role. Let us try to see how version is going to be helpful. We'll try to see a sample lab session now. For example, I'll go here. Try to delete this data. It is asking for a confirmation if I try to delete the data. Delete objects, that is done. Now, let us try to see how version is going to work. And I think I did not enable the versioning, right? So once you create the bucket, the version can be created and assigned in the bucket level. When I'm going to properties here, you can see there is an option called bucket versioning. Versioning is a means of keeping multiple variants of an object in the same bucket. That means if you upload the data once and the next time if you upload with a new data with the same file name, it will try to keep the data. Okay. You can use versioning to preserve, retrieve, restore every version of every object stored in your Amazon S3. With the versioning, you can easily recover from both unintended and accidental application failures. Let's try to see that. We'll try to enable this. We'll see. We have two options enabled here. That is suspend options and the enable option. Okay. I'm trying to enable. What was this? This suspends the creation of object versions of all operations, but prevents any existing object versions. If you try to click on suspend or enable, not delete. Okay. After enabling the bucket versioning, you might need to update your lifecycle rules to manage previous versions of objects. So you can also create the lifecycle policy we have discussed for the existing bucket objects as well. That's what it means. So I'm trying to enable now. Let's see what happens to the new objects which I'm trying to upload inside the S3 storage. All right, so I try to have the version enabled. Now what I'll try to do, I'll click on object. Let me try to have a sample file, which I'll try to show. So what I'll try to do. We have so many benefits in terms of permission level, access levels, and the data access and everything you can try to do. So that's how the cloud environment is trying to provide a feasible services to the customers and the companies. Okay. So what I did, I created a test upload.txt file, a notepad, and I try to click on my first data upload. Okay. I try to have a data over here and I'm having renaming in that. I'm trying to upload over the S3 bucket. Let's see what happens to this. I'll try to click on upload the text file which I've created. Test upload.txt. I'll click on open. Okay. So I'm uploading a plain text format file, which is having a line, my first data. I'll click on upload. This is done. So I'll go to this option. Let's see what is the data. I'm opening that object now. So what information does this document had? I'll click on open the options. You can see the thing which is visible here. It is nothing but a my first data, right? It is having the data as my first data, and the name of the file is test upload.txt. Now what I'll try to do, I'll go to the permissions and the versions. You can see for this particular file, a new version ID has been created. So it is having a version ID, and this is the current version because this is the first file which I've uploaded with the current version, and the type is text, and it will try to show you the date and the timings along with that and along with the bytes, correct? Standard. Now, what happens? Maybe customer is trying to upload the next day, where you want to upload a new file. I mean, new data modified into this file, the same file. Okay, let's see if that is acceptable. I'm trying to edit this. Notepad. I'll try to have a new data uploaded. So rather than it is creating a multiple files, I'm trying to upload the same file name. Let's click me on save. Let's see. So I'll try to click on upload again. I'm already having one file there. Add files. Test upload.txt. So do you think this is going to be a new file generated like 1 and 2, or does it going to be replaced? Let us try to see that. If it is replacing the old file, then my test the second file should be there, right? So let us try to see. It is in progress, succeeded. I'll go there. Now you can see this is the object URL when I'm trying to open this. Did I upload the same file? Okay, I think I've missed it. So I'll close this. I need to go to the ExcelR bucket. So you can see I had only one file, and it is trying. Let us see if the data has been added to the same file because I uploaded the first time, right? The same file name. So rather than overwriting the existing file, let us see if the data has been included in the same file name here. Okay. It should upload this. Just let me see this. Okay. So the data has been uploaded. It should overwrite this, or the data has to be open this. Still there. And you can see every time I try to upload the new data, a new version ID is creating rather than the old one. This is the first version I try to upload the data. And the second time it is trying to generate a new version. The third time it is trying to generate a new version. So if you try to modify the data, so the modified data will be available with the help of these versions. So that is how it is going to helpful. Okay. me upload again new file now. Let's try this again. Save. Okay, let me upload the same file again. It doesn't have, maybe I'm having from a wrong folder. Folder is 3. Even it has a wrong one. I don't know where I'm trying to edit this file. Maybe I'm having a multiple duplicates. My second data. Maybe. Save. Open. Click on upload. Let's see. I have one file now. Now you can see the very first time when I'm trying to upload a file, I have named it as my first data, correct? And once I try to upload the second time, I try to have addition of another data. So rather than trying to delete the first data, so it is not actually deleting the first data. So rather than it is trying to append, and it is trying to store the data and is trying to give me the new data. You can see this, my second data. Earlier I tried to upload my first data, right? So second time trying to upload, it is not replacing the existing file. Rather than it is trying to append the data and give me the additional data. Now, if I try to do some more settings over there, if I try to go there, I'll try to do one more thing here. I'll click on upload. I'll try to upload the same data again. Let's see what happens. But this time I'm trying to add additional data. In that way, what happens? For example, if you try to consider in terms of a companies and users. So if they are trying to upload same file every day, rather than trying to delete the old data, this S3 is trying to store the previous data and also it's trying to give a new data as well. For example, my third data. Okay. I'm trying to save this. So what happens if I try to update this? So it is not deleting the old data. It is not deleting the old data if I try to click on save and not trying to replace as well. I'll click on open. See if I'm trying to upload the same file name. I'll click on upload. I'll go to the buckets. Now what data I should see? Let us try to see that. I'll click on open. You can see my previous data is applicable and the second time data which is there, it is available, and the third time data which is available. So sequentially, what are the data which I'm trying to upload? It is quickly available within the S3. So which is happening because of the versioning. That's what, as per the definition, what it is trying to tell. You can use the S3 versioning feature to preserve, retrieve, and restore every version of every object stored in your buckets. So what actually it is trying to do, it is trying to store the data, it is trying to preserve the data, and we can try to retrieve this data as well. We'll try to see what happens with the versioning here. Now, I had only one file name, right? I keep on trying to upload the same data with the new data within this particular txt file. Let us try to open this particular test upload.txt. What happens? How many times I try to upload the data? Maybe thrice or 4 times, correct? So every time I try to upload data, it is trying to create a unique version over here. You can see how many versions it created. This is the current version earlier, first time which I'm trying to create it. And the second time data which I uploaded, the third time data uploaded, and whatever the next sequential times which I'm trying to upload the data. So this is how it is available, correct? So the data is quickly available. For example, if I try to open one by one here, you can see, even you can try to retrieve the data which you have uploaded, what time and what, and which kind of a data you uploaded. For example, if I try to open this, wait, I'll try to open this. If I try to open this, I'll click on this mark, I'll click on open. It will try to open at which time, which kind of a data I uploaded. So the third time data, these have been 3 types of data available, right? When I'm trying to ignore this, when I'm trying to click this, if I open this, this is the data which I uploaded at that particular time. And this one, click on open. See, my first data, the very first time I try to upload the data. And I'm trying to click on this, what happens here? This is my first data because I applied multiple times, right? And what about this? It is delete marker anyway. What about this thing? My first data. What is one? It is having my first data. You can see my first data and my second data. So even it is trying to store the data at what time I try to put a new data over there. Based on the timings, it is the versions we can try to retrieve the data over here. And what is the current version? These are all the preserved versions which I'm trying to do. What are the actions at this particular time? Right? I've been doing since 5 minutes. So what is the current version of data which is available? Let us see. This is the current version. This is the current version which is available with the whole set of data which has been modified. It is giving the latest time. You can see March 17, 2030.01. Correct? So that is what the versioning means, which will be really helpful while to the backup as well. Now, for example, I'm going to the bucket settings again, and I'll go to the test upload, right? This is the file I uploaded, correct? Now, what actually this version is trying to tell, it features to preserve, retrieve, and restore every version of our object. We are able to see the preserve and the retrieve. Retrieve means we can try to store the data, and also we can try to retrieve the data based on the versions. We have tried to see that. But now, how about the options for restore? How can we try to restore the data when it is accidentally deleted? For example, I'm using this particular console to upload this data. By mistake, for example, I deleted the customer data for any chance, or maybe during upload, or maybe network issues or application failures. By default, I try to click on delete by mistake, maybe. Okay. If I try to delete the data. So you people might have a doubt, right? How to retrieve the data? It might be a security concern for users and customers as well, because we cannot reach AWS as well to retrieve the data, because it is very tough, because it has been unintentionally deleted. You did not configure for a backup. You can see you don't have any objects. Now, how to retrieve the previous data? This is a question, right? That's where the versioning concept comes into picture. Even if the data is deleted, simply you can try to retrieve the data within this console for this particular bucket. How it is possible? Okay, let us try to see. I've tried to upload the test upload.txt. I need the data right now because it has been deleted by mistake. You can see this option, show versions. All the versions it's inside the cloud is available as a kind of a backup. So that's why it is trying to satisfy this particular statement it's telling, and restore every version of every object stored in your buckets. Even if you delete the data by mistake, these versions are available so that you can simply retrieve. That's how it is available. You can see. Open. I can try to open the other version. See, all my data which has been uploaded since long time, that is available here. And this one, this is the current version, right? I can try to open this. See, I can open this, and I can try to open, and I can try to download as well. You can see, I can try to download this data as well without no issues. I can try to download this because it is helpful for restoring our access simply. You can see this, my data is available securely. So that's how we can try to tell it's Amazon, it's trying to provide 99.9% of availability and 99.9% of durability as well. It is trying to follow that particular security algorithms and protocols to have this kind of a services given to customers and the user. Okay. So someone had a questions if they are trying to upload a data with 1, 2, 3, and the second time they are cutting the 1, 2, 3 and 4, 5, 6. So the first data will be also there, and also 4, 5, 6 data is also there in as part of versioning, like in the versions. But in the current version, you will have only 4, 5, 6, not 1, 2, 3. Okay. When you try to upload the data with editing a name like 1, 2, 3, and you upload the data to the bucket, and the second time you try to upload the 4, 5, 6 by removing 1, 2, 3, then 4, 5, 6 will become the current version and 1, 2, 3 will become the old version. So that is how it will be present. Okay, hope it clears. Any doubts on versioning concepts? Any doubts on Snowball, versioning concept, bucket level policies, lifecycle policies? So these kind of an interesting services that can be really helpful while we are trying to do a project labs, while we are into the core structure within it. When we are trying to have a module like within the core structure we are trying to have, right? We'll be trying to have a different use cases and projects as well with an assignments given from ExcelR. So these are kind of an basic level understanding how this kind of a technologies, cloud environment which is trying to provide us, which will trying to upload, automate the process. Okay. Any doubts? Any doubts? Yes. While we are trying to do a real project during the core structure with ExcelR, we'll be trying to do a project for S3 bucket connection to an instance, like a server. We have created server, right? Linux server and Windows server virtually. So we can try to link this S3 to that particular servers and transfer the data from server to S3 storage as well. Any doubts? So as I'm done with this thing, I'll try to delete all these versions. If versions are deleted, there is nothing to retrieve as well. So I'm trying to delete this. Okay, permanently delete. These are kind of a very good concepts and the technologies and options which has been provided by the cloud, Amazon cloud. So if you try to enable version, then the file uploads and the data won't be lost. It will be securely preserved until you disable the versioning. Okay. So if you try to enable the version, it will be still there. If you try to disable, the data won't be enabled as we try to require. You can see suspend. So suspend means what it is trying to do. The bucket functionalities below are impacted by this change. Lifecycle rules for the previous object versions will still apply. Existing objects in your bucket do not change. So the existing things won't be changed. Newly added objects with the same existing objects replaces the existing object. So these are the things when I'm trying to click on suspend. Okay. It won't, this particular suspend activity doesn't affect the existing objects inside the bucket. So I delete this. So that's how the versioning has been completed. Okay. And we can use this S3 as a static website hosting as well. You can see it supports content including HTML files, images, videos, and client-side scripts. How it is going to be helpful? With the help of a static website hosting. We can try to host a website like a static website. Static website is nothing but we cannot edit, and we can try to see a blogs news articles. In that kind of a website, we are trying to call this as static websites, right? So we'll try to see how it is helpful when I'm trying to go to this bucket, ExcelR bucket 1. I hope I've given enough permissions. I think, let's see, we have given enough permissions for the public access now. I'll give block all public access, that is fine. Edit, even this is given. So what I'll try to do, I upload a sample static website package over here. Let's see if that is giving to a host of websites inside this S3. That is also a very cool feature within this particular website. So rather than uploading 4 files, I'm trying to add a folder. Okay. So I'll try to add a website here. So here there is a folder over there. I'm trying to upload here. You can see it has 158 files inside this folder. You can see this is a sample website package I had. This is having a 154 files, which is consisting of a website hosting files. Okay, let me try to deploy a sample website here. I'll click on upload. You can see this, my complete web package, which is consisting of all files, has been uploading now slowly. I'll click on upload. This is slowly uploading. You can see there are multiple files for particular website package I'm trying to upload within the S3 in the form of a folders. Okay, rather than each file, I'm trying to upload complete folder itself. It is just to deploy a static website within the S3. It is one kind of an options where S3 is trying to provide us. Uploading. I think all the files have been uploaded. Let's see. I think it's still pending upload. Okay, it is successful. You can see this view details below. I'll go back to here. So this is the one. Let me see if I've given make public access using ECL. All right. So I've given access over here. You can see these are the files. Once I'll try to open any index.html. Let's see if I get an access or not. Now you can see I simply deploy a static website. This is kind of a sample static website. I uploaded the package to the S3 where I'm easily using this particular web package directly. Okay, I think you will be able to also try to access this. I'll just provide you the link quick. So anyone who is trying to see in the Zoom chat, just try to access this link. You will be able to see this website deployed. So everyone try to access and click on this. See how quickly we are able to host a static website directly through S3. So the content won't be changed because it is not a dynamic website. It is a fixed static website. So these kind of things we can try to do within this particular S3 storage static website service. You can see this. This particular website is operating through S3 bucket. You can see in the URL. Okay, let us know if everyone are able to access this website and click on the options. It will be visible. It is quite interesting though, but yes, it is very much helpful when you're trying to deploy static websites. So rather than you spend much time on trying to have a server application installed and the code writes and everything, this particular web packages can be uploaded to the S3 and it can be used as a static website hosting option. You can see this, right? Everyone are trying to access this. Are you able to see that? Of course, it is very fast because the content which I've tried to upload, it has been given here. And you can try to see, I've just uploaded with all the package which details and I'm opening a general thing. So it is kind of a static page, right? It doesn't take much time as well. And there is nothing we can be configured with the dynamically. So this particular data won't be changed dynamically. It is always fixed. So that's why it's very quick. Okay. Good. I hope it just makes sense for you to understand the static website hosting. And while going with the course structure, I'll let you know guys on how to perform the static website hosting and how to find the content and what are the permissions we need to give. Okay. This is about the static website. I think we covered almost all the topics for S3 then for today. Any questions, any doubts? Are we going good with the concepts and understanding the cloud fundamentals? Any doubts? All right. I hope everyone are able to get through the concepts, and slowly you'll get to understanding more on how the cloud environment works on usually. And while you're trying to have a real practice, you'll be able to help you with doing a lab session so that you can do the same activities in real-time classes. All right, we are done with session. If there are no questions, then yes, S3 can only host static websites. For the dynamic website hosting, we need to have a server installed with an applications and changing in that HTML files. So that involves a more time and configuration actually. Correct. So if you people are clear, that's fine. And we would have tried to confirm you and have a more queries, but it's not able to talk to you directly. But yes, if you have any questions, I'm open to answer you over the chats, Zoom chats. Hope you will be able to do the same labs and more contents and the more projects once you are practicing in real-time environments with the good assignments and the projects assigned by ExcelR. Thanks everyone. I really appreciate your time. So we shall meet towards next class. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Amar, can I end the session?
Yes, Chinmay, you can wind up.
Okay.